Stephen here. I'm going to be talking about useful and engaging ways to present information. And let me share some examples of what I mean by this. Here is a diabetes management instruction sheet created to help parents and children with type 1 diabetes manage their daily routine. Here's the after version, designed to be much more useful and engaging. Here is a spreadsheet with lots of interesting data about Oscar-winning movies and how quickly they were pirated in different formats. Here's an after version that makes that same data visual, and in doing so, you can actually see the relationships and see patterns in the data. And then finally, sales dashboards. We're all familiar with these. Here's an example of a sales dashboard I created with a client, and we use the poker hand analogy to make your quarterly sales or your monthly sales progress much more emotionally engaging. So that's what I mean by useful and engaging ways to present information. But more than these before and after examples in the process, I'll be talking about why we don't see more things like this. And I think it's because we've surrounded ourselves with these villains. And you'll recognize some of these. They go by names like grid views, lists, dashboards, spreadsheets. We see these in websites and web apps and software. And these are useful patterns for getting things out the door quickly, for getting things to the starting line, but they actually hold us back in the long run, and they don't serve the content very well. Specifically, they're guilty of failure to aid in making sense of complex information. Let me show you some examples of what I mean. You may recognize some of these. So here is software from the medical space with lots of useful patient information, but it really doesn't help us know what's important or draw our focus or attention to any specific piece of information. Here is what's given to potential customers when you're shopping for health insurance, and it's really difficult to make sense of which of these different plans and which one might best fit my situation. Here's a typical e-commerce search results page when you're shopping for a particular product. Here are flight search results when you're looking for a flight for that trip. Here is a sales dashboard or a pipeline for tracking incoming leads. And of course, there's spreadsheets, which we see in all manner of spaces and places. And while these are somewhat useful and they do serve the information back to us and we can sort and filter this information, really there's something missing from all of these. It's really critical, and that is relationships. None of these examples actually help us make a choice or to know which thing is most important, or really draw our attention to the thing that should be getting our attention. And let me show you an example of what I mean. Let's go to the e-commerce example. In this case, we're shopping for a digital camera. And what this page doesn't answer is which camera should I buy and why. We can sort by relevance, we can filter by brand and do these things, but really the most helpful piece of information on this page to narrow down my options is the reviews and the star rating. But I really feel like we're doing this content a disservice by not looking at what we're serving back and looking at ways to serve it back in a way that's more useful and engaging. Just to show you the opportunities here, if we think about these cameras as discrete objects, which they really are, there's so many ways we could present this back to the user that actually communicate information about these cameras and help me make a decision about which one might be the best fit with me and my needs. But we're given this very flat view that really doesn't do much other than allow me to sort and filter them. So armed with that information, I said, how can I make this more useful and engaging? It's not all about visuals, though. So the first thing I looked at is what's important when people are shopping for a camera. And it's really not what a lot of these e-commerce sites think is important. Things like megapixels, brand, price, certainly they factor into the decision. But what I found was more often people decided which camera to buy based on things like the reviews they found, pricing, but pricing really as an indicator of quality. Occasionally people would go to sites like DP Review for an in-depth review. People want to know what kind of photos can I take with this camera, so going to sites like Flickr and seeing photos taken from ordinary people, just like myself or yourself, was really helpful to see what this camera can do if you just push point and click. And then, of course, search results. If you've narrowed it down to one or two cameras, you just want to do a search on that brand to see if there's any information that you should factor into your decision. That's the type of information that I found that people were using to sort through or sift through the lists of all these camera options. So armed with that, I said, what kind of way could we represent this information back to people? This was a sketch I came up with, concept. This is the after version, a little higher fidelity. And again, the whole point is it's designed to be a more useful and engaging way to help me or help someone find the perfect camera for them. So that's just one of many examples I'll be sharing of useful and engaging ways to present information. Hopefully I'll see you there at the virtual seminar. Thank you very much.